Let's go through how you get that VP of sales job, even if you're an account executive. Let's dive in. My name is Mike Manzi, and if you're a new sales leader who can give me 90 days, I'll guarantee that you stop staring at your calendar wondering, what do you have to do? And you'll start getting nods of approval from your CEO when you're laying out a strategic change that's going to make the business and ultimately you more money this year. All by having documented processes to build and run a scalable sales team fast and without having to search through books or content, even if you have some crazy CEO or some really unique situation or really just no time. Here's how we do it. So I've had to personally build over 50 sales organizations, mostly from scratch, as a full-time head of sales and then ultimately a fractional head of sales. So obviously along the way, I've had to build a variety of templates, checklists, guides, and systems for myself to ensure I could do this quickly and effectively. Now I'm giving all of that to you. Get the official. Now I'm giving all of that to you. What includes? Now I'm giving all of that to you. What's included is three things. One, you get the official sales leader operating manual. This is the specific, tactical, step-by-step checklist of what to do for every piece of building and managing a sales org, whether that's starting from scratch or managing a team of sales managers. So you never have to search through books or try to translate some high-level guidance into actual tasks. Number two, you get the official sales leader templates. You have one headquarters document that houses everything from all the information you need for your one-on-ones all the way through compensation and your annual plan building. You get a customizable playbook even to carry with you on your road to CRO and over 50 other fill-in-the-blank templates so you can stop spending time searching for frameworks and formatting PowerPoints and start instead documenting systems that will make getting raises and promotions all but inevitable. And number three, you're going to get guidance directly from me. Every day of the week, you get access to me to ask me for advice on what to do, to verify something you've done, or check some idea that you're thinking about, even a document that you're working on, or a situation that you're in. And you're going to get a personalized plan so you're never, ever left to guess ever again. And since I know that you know training is key, but you don't have time for it, I also include an optional training every single week for you and an optional training every single week for every single member of your sales team. Ultimately, so that you and your sales team's KPIs can continue to grow. But you don't have to take on any risk here either. I'm sure you might be wondering, does this work in my industry? And while I've done this, like I said, over 50 industries from pool installation companies to patio fabricators to enterprise sales SaaS organizations, you can't know that. You might be wondering how easy is it to navigate the guidebook or how much time it's going to take. And though it's all organized to ensure that what you need is where you think it should be. And heck, I've had people who don't even own computers to buy a computer and use this program and build a sales team. You can't know that. So I'm also offering a 100% plus $1,000 guarantee. Now, what this means is you can get all of your money back at any time just by sending me an email without any explanation needed. And not only will you get your money back immediately, but the next time you want to invest in some leadership training, whether it's with me or anybody, I'll give you $1,000 to invest. This way, you know that just by signing up for the course, you're effectively giving yourself a $1,000 budget for a different course. So I'm doing this because 0 people have ever taken me up on this. And I've had at least 5 people who didn't go from director or sales VP to CRO, but they went all the way from AE to VP, never mind everybody in between. Access to the program is $1,000 a month for 3 months. If you want to stick around for more guidance after those 3 months, it's only $100 a month to stick around and you keep all the access to all the operating manual, templates, and guidance. So if you're newer into sales leadership and you've ever caught yourself saying, I think this is what I should be doing, maybe I'll ask somebody in this group, and you've asked people to give you answers on what to do in certain situations, stop wasting your time trying to catch up and start becoming the VP of sales who has a documented process, a scalable sales team, and who, as a result, inevitably get to CRO earlier, faster, and with more money than their peers. First thing we want to do is we obviously want to make sure we get our resume and our LinkedIn right. This is my LinkedIn. It's whatever. Your LinkedIn isn't as important, I think, as your resume because they're going to look at your LinkedIn, but your resume is what's more important. So let's dive into how you actually build your resume in a way that's going to make the most sense. So the first thing is these are the things that everybody cares about when you're hiring somebody. It's like, how good are you at sales? If you were a machine printing out jeans, there would be like a average jeans per yard of denim rate and how much those jeans are worth or whatever, right? That's what these numbers are for us because we are just seen as machines. We're not like builders or whatever. I don't know the right word is for that. Cool. So you want to put this right at the top so they can see that. You want to put your achievements. Even if you didn't like win President's Club, you might have been the number one rep. Or if there were three reps, you were a top third rep. If there were 10 people and when you left, you were, the number two, it's like left as the top 20% performer. So you can think through like, what are those achievements that I've made? And of course, brands, people always love, like, I sold to Walmart, even if you sold to like one small element of it. So people love that stuff too. Key skills here. What I really want to add in or highlight is the specific CRM software or specific sales methodologies that you have experience with. Because a lot of sales managers or heads of sales want to see that Challenger or Sandler or whatever. So just saying that is going to give you a little bit of a bump. So before they even get to any of your experience, they're like, okay, this guy clearly does well, knows some stuff that I probably care about. What's his deal, right? So what I put here is I put a resume as if you went from an SDR to an enterprise account executive. This is primarily if you were going for more account executive or another account executive role. But what we've got here is for each one of these, this is what you want to include. Even if you're a VP, director, same thing. What was his company? So they can quickly see that Wodify or whatever Django what is it? Was it a software? Was it a product? Was it mid-market? Whatever. And this is how they're going to figure out, like, is your experience relevant? Okay. And then did you join or leave because you got fired, because you just randomly took the job? This helps them understand, like, are you smart? And was there a good reason? Were you poached? Something like that. Now here, what I'm showing here are a couple of things that you can say to really change your resume. What typically sales reps do is they just list out their responsibilities. Like, yeah, we all know that you did demonstrations and you prospected to humans and whatever. So what you want to do is actually show that you're doing the most, the best, the top, all of the fastest. So I'm sure that there's a way that you can say, like, best, fastest, first, youngest, only to do blank, right? Like, that's way more powerful than hit quota. If it was like one of 6 reps to hit quota and after, over 5 years of time, that's way more powerful. Cool. Even like this, which was considered impossible. Like, we all know what that means. Like, so many places like have these things that it's like, oh, we could never do this. And so if you were able to do it, we know it's good. And then here are some other great things you might want to say that are important. For a senior account executive, same thing here. For an account executive, same thing here. But we're also talking about number of calls and self-generated meetings, because that's going to be more important typically in this role. And here we're going to talk about number of calls, but then also this. So if you were able to say, hey, I'm an SDR, but I actually wasn't just tracking dials, I was tracking like meetings per dial, that is going to tell me that you're not only good, but you're also smart. And something like this, like, I developed 3 primary ways to do blank. So as opposed to like got better at objection handling, you'd be like, I created a framework to handle objections. I translated a professional training, into a guide for all my calls. These are things that are different because everyone else is going to scan their resume and be like, yep, made calls, did stuff. So these are ways to make it look different. Okay. Let's go back into here. So let's say you are that account executive. What is the process you should take to become a VP? I'm going to show you a couple things here. This is high level. So obviously you can't move up if you're not performing at some level. Good news, you don't have to be the number 1 rep of the team. Bad news, you can't be the bottom rep of the team, right? So what you need to do here is first ask a couple meet people if you can manage them. Be like, hey, I want to stretch my management skills. I'd love to be able to take you under my wing, or I'd love to be able to work with you a little bit more closely. Are you comfortable with that? If they are not comfortable with that, there's likely an issue with your reputation on the team. So there might be a step back that you take. But ideally, those 3 people are going to be at least someone who's good, bad, and new. We want this so that we can show that you can manage a diverse set of people because they're all different. And we want to be able to show that you can ramp people faster. It's the new person, and fix people that stink. That's that bad person. To manage them, you're going to want to use the 3 pillars of leadership. This will be on a separate video, but the 3 pillars of leadership are feedback, coaching, and one-on-ones. So you want to start giving them feedback using the correct feedback framework that I'll talk about later. Give them coaching, again, in that correct framework, and run one-on-ones with them. I would also recommend that you run pipeline reviews. So you're going to say, hey, for feedback is when you do blank, blank happens, please keep doing it, don't do it. So you're going to say to them like, hey, when you join a call on time, that really indicates that you're telling the customer that you're professional, keep doing that. Or, hey, when you finish a call and you don't ask for next steps, it makes it challenging for the customer to come back to you and therefore makes it harder for you to get promoted. Don't do that. For coaching, you're going to say, hey, what do you want to get better at? Then what do you think you could do to get better at that? And then I can give you this to help you on your journey. And then is there a milestone that you can hit, a quantitative number that if you were to hit it, we'd know that you hit your target? That's coaching. And pipeline reviews, we'll do a whole section on this, but in brief, it's you go through their deals and you say, hey, why can't this deal close today? To identify the blocker, offer them advice, update the CRM, and move on. Okay. So now what you want to do is you want to track KPIs. So I always recommend pick one KPI that you know you can make an impact on. So don't pick something like win rate if your sales cycle is 18 months, because you're not going to be able to show that you've improved that win rate for 18 months, right? So try to pick something. It could literally be like speed of responses. It could be meetings to call rate. It could be percent of pipeline that is in the stage commit. It could be forecasting accuracy. Some KPI that you think you can make an impact on. Make a 90-day plan for yourself and for this rep to say, like, how are we going to make an impact on that? So that might be, hey, every time we run on one-on-ones, I'm going to go through your forecast with you. We're going to try to make this perfect every single week, whatever it is, so that you can, when you interview, say, hey, I have showed specific KPIs that have changed by running this specific plan that I created. And I drove that plan through a real framework as opposed to just doing it randomly, through a real framework. And I did it with a diverse set of people. Now, whether you did that, you have this interview in your current company or externally where you're interviewing and you're saying, hey, I know my title says AE, but I was effectively a team lead to 3 people. This will justify why they should move you into a role. Let's talk about some of the specifics in here. So I'm going to show a different document here. If you can give me a sec. This is one of the guys in my leadership. So this is the more specifics of what I would recommend that you lay out. So in my program, I have a one-on-one or this headquarters document that includes a headquarters section where we've got this one-on-ones bit here. And here you can see, if you should train, retain, and remove them, what their flight risk is, what's their impact on the team, what they're motivated by, what they're frustrated by, where you want to coach them, what they're doing, and your general notes, and just checking if you've given feedback. So if you were giving people doing one-on-ones and you had it in the structure, and you could show this again in an interview with internally or externally, it's obviously going to go a lot farther than like I ran one-on-ones, You pick your you pick your people, you pick your KPIs, you run one-on-ones, pipeline reviews, Monday morning meetings, coaching one-on-ones, all that. You should track a forecast. If you can forecast weekly, that would be a great way for you to show like, hey, I've gotten better at forecasting each week. Pick a training, go crazy on it. Great. Now here's something really cool you can do as well. So expanding out on your plan. So if you have time, you want to write down the top couple areas the team, those 3 people or individuals not performing. And you want to think about what are some ways you could actually improve it. So for example, down here in this program, we've got all these different things we can get better at. And then you want to write down, how would you rank it currently? Like, how are we going with the script? The script is currently a 7 out of 10. Then you want to go, how much of an impact does that have on revenue? Well, that would have a 10 out of 10 impact. What we say in the calls is extremely important. And then you want to give an idea, change script, whatever it is. And then you want to go, cool, if I change the script, what do I think the future score would be? I think I could probably get it to a 8.5. I probably can't get it to a 10, but maybe to an 8.5. Well, based on that, it now gives you a score. So you can ultimately try to make a choice about what it is that you do. Imagine going into an interview where you didn't just say, I came up with this cool idea. You say, after working with my reps, I identified 5 or 10 things that we could do. I then evaluated where we were with those 10 things, how important those 10 things were, and how much of an impact I can make on those 10 things. I then decided I was going to do these 3 things by doing a priority matrix of some kind to identify the top thing, the most impactful things I can do in the short. That's far more powerful and persuasive than, I thought, our win rate was down, so I did a training. Okay. Now, the next thing I say here is, if you can, run a monthly business review with your boss. Again, in this program, I've got this written out here, but there's these templates, but I'll give you the brief version, which is to say, you want to say, what is up with revenue? Where are we? It's at blank, which is up or down month over month. What's the general trend? Why is that happening? And what are you going to do about it? Forecast is blank. Why is it up or down? What are you going to do about it? Pipeline is a blank. Why is it up or down? What are you going to do about it? And then people are at blank percent of quota. Why is it up or down? What are you going to do about it? Okay. So now you've got a real solid plan as to how to move up. Okay. Now you're going to go do the job search. How do we find that gig in the first place? If you're coming from any industry, what I recommend is you go to G2. This is assuming you're looking for software jobs. So you go to g2.com and you can just type in what your experience is. Let's say you're construction. So I'm going to type in construction. Here's some construction CRM software, construction management software, HVAC software. So maybe I'm like, yeah, I'm in construction and CRMs sound interesting. Why not? Cool. So now I can see which ones are the ones I might want to work at, right? So I can get a real good idea of which ones I might want to work at. Anyways, this can give you a good idea of what you might want to work at. If you know one of them, let's say like your current company uses Jobber. You'd be like, great. I'm going to go over to Jobber. And then even while you're in here, it'll show you who's and who some of their competitors are. So I'm going to give you a good idea. Great. That's the first thing you're going to do. Try to find those gigs. Now, once you do that, you're going to want to go to this job search program. You're going to type in all those companies. So first, you're going to just list all these different companies you might want to work at. And just in bulk. Don't look at, do they have jobs? Don't look at any of that stuff. Just like list all the companies. Okay. If you need to, list a little description because you'll probably forget like what Jobber was, right? So list the company and list what it is. Okay. You should get like 30, 40, 50 of these. Then go back and go to this company's website, see what the job is. Go to the company's website, see what the job is. Go to the company's website, see what the job is, and put a link to the job. Okay. Then and only then you're going to go, you're going to go to Calendly and make a calendar. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can do this with Google too. But with Calendly, you'll come here so you can make a free link to your calendar. You're going to take your resume and you're going to put your resume into Google Drive. This Google Drive, I have my personal Google Drive. And you're going to have the link to the job here. Okay, so those three things are done. Now you're going to go to LinkedIn and you're going to go find a connection there. So you're going to say, I want to work at job. All right, I got one connection here. Sweet. I'm going to take that. I'm going to put the link here. Okay. And I'm going to keep doing that. If you try to do like a company, then find a job, then find a refer, then send an email, it takes forever. It's easier to do it in bulk. So do all the companies, then all the jobs, then all of the refers. So I'm going to do this right now. I can put these things in if I want to, but now I'm going to follow this little mini CRM that I created here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to send a note to the person that I have a connection with. So I'll go over to this guy and I'm going to be like, hey man, it's been a while. Saw your Jobber. Okay, so I'm going to say a simple message like that. And then I'm just going to go, here's the job with the link. Here's my resume with the link. Here's my calendar link. Okay, that's it. Now, if you haven't talked to this person in a while and you're wondering like, how do I send a kind of like a nice message to somebody? What I recommend is you do this exact same thing, right? And then at the end, you end with, when you do it at the beginning, it feels fake. It feels like you had to say, hey, hope things are going well. Here's all but can you help me? If you instead go like, hey, can you help me? And then you go, by the way, I hope things are feeling well or going well, whatever. It comes off more authentic. Okay, so you're going to do that. Then you're going to send a follow-up to them in a week. Hey, following up with a note below, wondering if you could push me through to the interview. Also, don't apply for the job yet, because sometimes it'll be like companies are like, don't apply first. Other times companies are like, do apply first. Other times like, don't worry about applying. So don't apply first. Cool. Now, once you've done this, you can then move on to the rest of this, which is prep for your meeting, have the phone screen, send the thank you, right? So it kind of walks you through the rest of the process so you can make sure that you're staying up on all the different interviews that you've liked. So next thing here to prep for those interviews. So for reps and managers, there are different questions you need to prepare for. And there's a three-part framework I have for interviewing to make sure that your questions come across so that you're smart and you get the job. So these are the typical questions you're going to get as a rep. These are the typical questions you're going to get as a manager. And any question you want to answer like this. So yeah, when it comes to motivation, my overall stance on that is I think there's like an internal motivation and an external motivation. So, on the internal side of things, I like to make sure I'm always tracking things. So I track my goals so I can see how I'm doing. Externally, what I like to do is I like to pick someone to compete with. So I have someone to kind of chase. Good example of that. One time I was working at Acme Corp and there was this guy, Joe, that was doing better than me. So I started tracking Joe's stats and I started tracking my stats. And each week I was like, okay, this week I'm going to try to beat him on activity. And then this week I'm going to beat him on wins or whatever it was at the time. And ultimately I ended up being neck and neck with him, beating him sometime. And I feel pretty good about it. You can see how if I had just given that example, it sounds like, oh, okay, that's one thing you did once. Whereas if I gave my stance and then the tools that I use and then the example, it sounds like, oh, this guy can do this here, as opposed to this guy has done this, which is very different. Same thing is true for leaders. If you'd like some specific prompts you might want to use, here you go. So tell me about yourself. Hey, I'm from a small town in Connecticut. People tend to say that I'm really funny, which is true. But what they don't actually know about me is that I have this weird chip on my shoulder to always prove people wrong. So I'm always like scanning the room and trying to figure out where I can get an angle to be a little bit better. And something that you might not see because we haven't even talked yet on my resume is not only was I a great sales rep or whatever, I feel like at all these different organizations, I've also made a big impact on the culture there. So those are a couple things about me. Okay. Always this framework. So when it comes to blank, here's how I think about it. Here's some tools I use. Here's what I did. And then this is my recommendation for how you end any interview. Okay. This is your close. Hey, now that you've seen me in person, if this ended up not working out and you ended up having to go with somebody else, what do you think are the top one or two likely reasons that you or the team decided it wasn't really the best fit? This will force them to give you a real answer versus the typical thing of like, do you have any hesitation to move forward with me? Or like, what issues do you have with me or whatever, to which they're always going to be like, no, we'll get back to you. This has given me a lot of feedback. Now, over here, I've given some examples of questions you could ask that will make you sound smarter and sound more curious versus just like, what is the role like day to day? Don't ask that stupid junk. And then for a follow-up, you do not need to do anything big, but it is really nice to send a follow-up. So just like, name, great chat today. Really appreciate your questions and I want to be part of the dynamic there. By the way, love hope your kid's doing well. If you mentioned like his kids in the call or something like that. If you do it a big one, it makes you look thirsty. If you do none, it makes you look lazy. Okay. Next up, we're going to talk about interview presentation. This is primarily for the people that are in leadership. So you want to give, if you're creating this presentation, you want this presentation because it'll say, tell us about yourself. Give a little bit of background on yourself. Hey, here's Mike. Here's what I am. Here's something I'm passionate about, playing guitar, sports, whatever it is. Here's my style, my general style of management. Put some things in here. My strengths are here, and you might even put some of your weaknesses in here. And then you want to also put why this company. And I typically think it's wonderful any company wants someone who wants to make a big impact, someone who really wants to be a good leader, and also someone who cares about alignment. So this will work no matter who you're interviewing with. So here's one example of it. Hey guys, here's my management philosophies. Here's some of my past performance. Here's my 30, 60, 90. Now, here's the things that you can do if you're at this point. And I hope that if you have any questions, you can drop them below in the comments or we can talk soon. Wishing you the best.